Floods in Norway have left a mass of mangled infrastructure in their wake after several days of heavy rains. Scandinavia has been battered by Storm Hans, whose deluge submerged a hydroelectric power plant and led to a partial collapse of the dam at Braskalit Foss in eastern Norway. Floodwater in Norway have sent mobile homes crashing into a breach on the Hamsala River. The breach in a part of the dam on Wednesday afternoon has since allowed water to flow downstream, and the reservoir is now draining. Floodgates at the facility failed to open automatically, after a grid failure caused generator to drop offline early Wednesday. That saw floodwater spill over the top of the dam into the station, causing major damage, the company said in the statement. Norway has borne the brunt of the storm, with thousands evacuated from the worst hit areas, as heavy rain triggered landslides and closed off more than 100 roads. The southeastern parts of the country has been the most affected.
Hurricane Idalia totally slammed Florida's several parts and left behind a ton of damage. Keaton Beach was right in the middle of the destruction. Homes there are barely even recognizable now. This one house had its roof ripped off and the bedroom wall smashed to pieces. Another building got wrecked too from the powerful winds and storm surge. The waves crashed over porches and nearly buried some of the beach houses. The flooding from the hurricane was so bad it actually reversed the flow of the Steinhatchee River. Boats got slammed into the bridge because of it. High tides and the storm surge kept the coastal flooding going even after Idalia passed. Farther inland, the rain and wind knocked down trees and buildings. In Perry, one family freaked out when trees almost fell on their house.
Oh my gosh. No!
Nearby, the storm took down a gas station as trees crashed everywhere and made a huge mess. It also ruined the gas pumps underneath. It was even worse because so many people didn't have power. Hundreds of thousands in Florida and Georgia were left totally in the dark. Florida's First Lady posted a pic of a 100-year-old oak tree that split in two and fell on the governor's mansion while she was home with her kids. Crazy! Idalia left some serious destruction behind. Now let's see in detail. Hello, and welcome to Alerts On. A huge hurricane named Idalia recently caused major destruction and flooding across Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. It grew from a Category 1 storm into a major hurricane super fast in less than 1 day. This led the 4 states in its path to declare emergencies. At least 3 people died when Idalia first hit Florida's coastline on Wednesday morning. It brought high winds, heavy rain, and dangerous storm surges up the coastline as it moved north. Let's take a closer look at the huge damage and costs from this devastating hurricane. On August 30th, Hurricane Idalia made landfall close to Steinhatchee, Florida, as a strong Category 3 hurricane. Slamming into the quiet Big Bend coastline, Idalia brought catastrophic flooding from storm surge and fierce winds. Buildings were damaged, boats washed onto land, and roads blocked by fallen trees and debris. Further inland, heavy non-stop rain flooded towns and cities. 2 people died in vehicle accidents that happened during the storm. One was in Pasco County, in the Tampa Bay area, and the other was in Alachua County, where Gainesville is. It's not known yet if those deaths were directly from Idalia. In Perry, storefront windows were shattered, buildings lost roofs, and floodwaters covered roads. Tampa and nearby cities also saw tremendous flooding, with dozens of water rescues needed. Some areas got over 30 inches of rain. Across Florida, Idalia cut power to over 450,000 homes and businesses as trees and power lines fell down. The key tourism industry was hit hard, with many attractions and hotels closed for days or weeks. In Florida, the total insured losses were over $6.5 billion, with homes, businesses, and farms damaged the most. The costs kept rising even after the winds died down, as towns faced massive cleanup and rebuilding. Though now a tropical storm, Idalia still had dangerous winds and really heavy rain as it pushed into Georgia. Over 260,000 people lost power across southern and central Georgia as the saturated ground made trees fall onto power lines and homes. In Valdosta, heavy sideways rain and strong winds knocked down branches and snapped utility poles. The Associated Press reported that a man died while clearing a fallen tree in the Valdosta area as Idalia moved through. Flooding was also widespread, swallowing roads and closing major highways like Interstate 75. Around Augusta, numerous people had to be rescued from flooded cars and homes. In Georgia, the insured damage was around $500 million, with the most severe losses to farms and properties. The storm's remnants would later soak parts of Atlanta, adding to previous terrible flooding there. Though no longer a hurricane, Idalia kept dumping huge amounts of rain as it tracked over South Carolina. Up to 18 inches of rain triggered catastrophic flooding, especially in already flooded river basins. A likely tornado from Idalia flipped a car off a highway in Goose Creek as people watched in disbelief. 2 people in the car had minor injuries. Near Charleston, storm surge flooded the historic downtown and other coastal areas. Further inland, widespread flooding in the capital Columbia overwhelmed drainage and damaged buildings. Across the state, thousands were forced to leave their flooded homes. At least 2 deaths were blamed on Idalia in South Carolina. The damaging freshwater flooding made the coastal damage even worse, with early insurance claims over $1.5 billion. Though now just a remnant low-pressure system, Idalia's rains still caused major flooding in parts of eastern North Carolina. Some areas got over 10 inches of rain, swelling rivers and flooding communities along them. Several tornadoes spun up, causing intense localized wind damage. Hundreds of water rescues were done over several days as overflowing creeks and streams flooded. Mudslides and washed-out roads made it hard for emergency responders to reach many rural areas. North Carolina had around $500 million in damage, with the most losses to farms and property. Thanks to early warnings and evacuations, the loss of life was less than it could have been. Now begins the long recovery as people rebuild their lives after Idalia. Though it's gone, this deadly hurricane's impacts will be felt for months and years across the southeast. But the resilience of these coastal communities will shine through, as it has after many storms before. This is just the latest chapter in the long history of hurricanes hitting this region, and sadly, likely not the last. Remember to like and subscribe for more updates.